is not a death sentence. I know that so often we think of progression and regression as this horrible thing, or using a prop means you're regressing, which is not good and we don't want to regress. But in reality, props can play a crucial role in helping elevate your fitness. Believe it or not, a prop should never be considered a regression or a progression. It should be something that helps meet your body where it's at. Okay. Especially when you are pregnant or postpartum and you're trying to recover from this wonderful thing that is such a miracle, but also really hard on the body. You might need props. We are not a single-sided creature. One side might need something different than the other in order for them to come and meet in the middle. So, let's talk about one of my favorite ways to prop or help pregnant and postpartum women, especially. But this can also be great for somebody who's coming back from an injury of any kind. And for some, that might be their pregnancy or their labor. Okay, so I like to elevate things like planks and push ups, especially for the pregnant and postpartum population, but it's also a great place for women in general who are starting to lift for the first time, maybe, just to learn where you're at and progress from there. Okay. It does not mean you're awful or weak or horrible or anything like that. So, let's talk about why this is such a great tool for helping with some of the things that we deal with in strength training and fitness during pregnancy and postpartum. So, oftentimes, pressure management is a really big issue. That's what causes things like your diastasis, your hernia, your prolapse, peeing your pants when you laugh or sneeze. So, those are things that we need to address that might be very difficult to address if you're doing a plank or a push up from the floor. Versus if I can bring you to the wall and take some of the pressure off not only the upper body but the core as well, we can learn how to go through that exercise and manage your pressure properly. It also gives you a chance to work on form and feel what it should feel like before it gets difficult, before you're barely squeaking out that last rep. Okay? This allows you to think about what pressure management looks like from an elevated surface, what good form feels like from an elevated surface, so that when you do get to a harder version like the floor, you are able to go, oh, I don't feel that way like I did when I was on the bench. Or I'm noticing a little bit of coning. I better come back up to the bench. Okay, an elevated surface is also great for somebody who, say, is dealing with wrist pain, or maybe your SI joint and hip pain, maybe shoulder issues. Coming elevated can be a great way to take some of the pressure off of those joints and allow you to still have those movements incorporated in your programming. Okay, and then really the fourth and final reason we might use an elevated surface. So we have pressure management, practicing and learning form, and then we have for joint issues or injuries in general. And the fourth one is going to be for somebody who might be in their second or third trimester that's struggling to get up off the floor now, or maybe gets a little dizzy or nauseous when they're too flat or level. Maybe they need to come to an elevated surface and still allow their bodies to practice things like planks and push-ups without having those contraindications or no-goes for that exercise. So it enables us to still keep the exercises in our programming, but in a safe and helpful manner. That means that you never have to take that exercise completely off the books. And it could also just mean that it's just not for you right now. And that's why we need to work on it from a wall or a higher surface so that it can then join your awesome library of available exercises. So we want to use an elevated surface to help practice and get a good feeling for form. to help with core and pressure management so that we're not coning and doming or preventing our diastasis from healing any further. Okay. We want to use an elevated surface in our second and third trimester to help keep us still able to exercise without all the bad side effects for a harder exercise. And then, of course, for injury rehab or for just in general, avoiding being on your wrists or putting too much pressure on your shoulders, whatever the case may be, there is a time and a place, and it can be a really helpful tool to have that elevated surface. So just because somebody's giving you an elevated surface doesn't mean that you're doing less, it just means that you're checking on yourself and meeting your body where it's at. Give this a shot and let me know what you think.